Good morning. I think it's still morning. Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. Well, it's afternoon now. So good afternoon. Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. I'm out in the tack shed. The walls are bare. Don't have the stove on at the moment. For those of you who've been around for a while, you've been around me and the channel, us. You are aware that my biggest character battle, let's do it like that, is being wound a little too tight. And it's the thing I have fought the most over the last few years. And so I'm out here right now chilling because it's what I need to do. And and I've found this is just going to be rambling, okay? We're just going to sit here and ramble for a little bit, if you don't mind. In the horse world, one of my biggest complaints from the very start, when I started trying to learn to train horses, learn to understand horses, started watching videos, all the horse trainers who were putting stuff out that were trying to show you how to fix a problem with a horse, the horses, it was obvious to someone who had worked horses a little bit. The horses had been worked, had been warmed up, they had been handled and then taken and washed and brushed and cleaned up and then brought out. And then the video turned on because the horses were always perfectly behaved. They may not know exactly the one thing that the trainer was trying to teach them, but they were perfectly behaved. And usually in most cases, whatever it was he was trying to teach them, that was the second or third time they had been through this. So they were already starting to get an idea. And I would get frustrated and I'd say, my horse isn't behaving like that. I have to start from the beginning. So I wish you would be less worried about your image and more concerned about teaching the reality of the situation and show us behind the curtain of how things are when you get a fresh, raw horse that doesn't know anything and doesn't want to know anything. Well, you watch a lot of videos and podcasts and stuff today. Of men trying to tell you how to go through life and how to do this and how to do that. And there's a lot of theory, and the theory might be good. But very rarely do you see practical application where the guy saying this is what you need to do and this is what you need to do. Very rarely do you say, well, today this is, and things aren't working out, and so this is what I got to do. They keep that image polished. Well, today I started getting ginned up. I'm just going to be honest with you. The stress started building. What's going on is I have the other channel, the Tack Room Bible Talk, and I did a video a couple days ago about a subject. To me, it's just clear as a bell. It's just open and clear. And so I sat and clarified it, and I've been inundated with religious knobheads who just are arguing and arguing and arguing. Now, I've had people say before, Dwayne, why don't you just turn comments off? Because in the midst of all of these over-religious knobheads who cannot listen and cannot discern and cannot understand, I have sincere people who come in and they have a sincere question. And I am able to answer that question, or at least show them a way of looking at it, and they're helped. And I don't want to lose that, and I don't want them to lose that. So anyhow, that started stressing me. It shouldn't, all right, but I started getting really aggravated at these people, and it started reflecting in my answers, these comments. It's been a long time since I've done a video where I've blocked so many people from the comments. because people just, they've got in their head what they want to believe, and they'll take a verse of scripture out of context, and they'll ignore all the other verses. And I'm not going into that, okay? But that was starting to stress me. The other thing that's stressing me is, as you know, maybe you know, or you'll know now, we're moving back to Kentucky for a lot of reasons, all right? And so we were going to try to pull out of here first thing this morning. And my son-in-law, I flew him out from Kentucky to help. He's strapping, healthy, strong young man, and he helped yesterday, and we got a lot of stuff done. But until he came out, it was just Mama and I. And so things weren't moving along at the rate that I was wanting to, because I was worried about winter weather. And I had stuff I had to take care of, like I had 3 different situations of horses to get the horses settled. And all of this takes time. It takes paperwork. You got to have in Wyoming, you have to have the brand inspector out. You have to have, I had to have the vet out to pull blood. So I had to wait for the Coggins test and the health papers to come back. So every time I turn around, there was another delay. And I'm watching the weather reports, and the January weather in Wyoming starting to come in. So we got Jonas out, and we got a lot of work done yesterday, and we're going to try to pull out this morning, but we didn't have stuff done. You can only do so much, especially when, it's dark at 5 o'clock in the morning and it doesn't get light till 8:30. And it's 12 degrees. And so we didn't, and so that started stressing me. And then we got weather coming in. It's snowing out there right now. It's 12:30 in the afternoon, and it's snowing. And then I'm getting weather reports that they're having supposed to be a huge ice storm through Kansas City and all the way up to Washington, D.C. Kentucky's calling for big ice storm, rain. And so that started stressing me, because I've got to get all this stuff. Even if we were packed, I've got trucks and trailers and dogs and people and everything to get through the weather, snow and ice and all this stuff. 1,600 miles to Kentucky. And we're at the last point of packing, where you've got all the little stuff that just keeps showing up. Trailers are like, well, that's full. I don't have room for that. That's against that. And so we're going through all that. And so I was starting to get stressed. And I didn't do anything bad. I didn't snap at anybody. I haven't slammed any doors. I haven't. But it was building. I could feel it. And what's worse, Mama could see it. Now, one of the things you always got to be aware of, if you're a person who, if you're not just a walking Xanax, if you've got a bit of this, how you affect other people. Now, my blessed, wonderful wife has been with me through the worst of my stress, through the worst of my wound too tight days, the worst of my temper, she's been for years. And so even now, when I have a handle on things and I'm not like exploding and, things like I used to, when she sees that stress building in me, it really starts stressing her, because she remembers how it used to be. No, it wasn't ever abusive. I have never struck my wife or screamed at her and called her bad names. Not like that, okay? But it really started stressing her. Which I don't want, okay? So what I've done is, I'm like, okay, we're not pulling out of here right now. It's snowing. I'm not taking 2 dually trucks with 2 trailers full of all of our stuff and pulling out of here in the snow on slick roads, heading towards an ice storm. I'm just not going to do it. Okay. So we're going to slow down, and we're going to take things as they come, and we're not on a schedule. And so I told my wife, I told Deanna, I said, I'm going to go out in the tack shed I'm going to have a good cup of coffee of Juniper Mountain Wrangler Roast coffee. I'm going to have a cigar, Partagas Black Label, 6x60. And I'm going to just get control of myself. Not so the advantage, the positivity about this, as opposed to the way I used to do it, I would finally get control of myself once I had lost control. Okay? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Now, I have learned to just stop, step back, and get more control of myself before I start losing control, before I start slamming stuff, before I start raising my voice, before I start cussing and carrying on around here. I feel it coming. You know, when I was young, you feel a cold coming on or the flu, you just keep going. And you can feel it, usually a lot of times you can feel it coming on. It's like, man, I think I'm starting to get sick, but you keep going. And then it hits you, knocks you flat down. And then you start pouring on, you know, the whatever your remedies are and the medicines and everything else to try to fix it. Well, it's a lot easier to catch it, and your stress, your temper, the way you handle things, it's a lot easier to stop and step back and get a hold of it before it becomes a full-on conflagration. You learn that blame clock doesn't really mean as much as it used to. Okay? One of the guys here, a rancher here up the road, been the most, but the best guy here, been the most supportive, the most neighborly. He's been ranching for generations out here. And we've pushed cattle, we've helped him gather cattle. And he said, he's off and said, if you want to gather those cows in off of that one piece back there on the back side of the property and bring them in. And if you miss a couple of them, because some of it broke on pretty steep draws and with heavy trees and stuff down in there. And, you can get a mama cow with a calf, she gets holed up down in there. It's easy to miss. He said, if you don't get all of them today, we don't even care, because we're just moving from one pasture to another where the grass is better or whatever. He said, because they'll be there tomorrow, and what we don't get today, we'll just get tomorrow. And that's sometimes, and it's hard in the life that we have built in this culture in this country. It's hard to just say, it's time to stop, time to sit down for a minute. And if we don't leave today, we'll leave tomorrow. And if the roads are covered in ice and snow tomorrow, we'll leave the next day. And the plan is to head out once the roads and the weather, once we're packed and the weather is where I feel like it's not unwise to head out, we're going to head out. And if we hit more weather, we're going to pull over and we're going to wait it out. I'm not going to white knuckle it down the road at 35 mile an hour with the windshield wipers going crazy and the 4-wheel drive on and say, because we got to get there. There's not near as many places in life that you've got to get to today that we think we have to get to today when we're young. And sometimes the best thing we can do is say, you know what? Tomorrow's another day. If you take your hand, go in and fill your bathtub up with water. Okay, fill it up. Kneel down beside of it and take your hand. Raise it all the way up. and bring it down as fast and as hard as you can. Bam, on that water. What's going to happen? You're going to hurt your hand. And it's going to bounce off of that, and you're not going to go very deep. But if you slow down to about a third of the speed and you come down, calm and deliberate, it's not going to hurt near as bad. And you're going to penetrate a whole lot deeper into that water. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just say, look, if I keep getting wound up trying to push this clock, I'm just going to wind up breaking stuff and wrecking. And getting wound up too tight inside, start snapping, start being disrespectful to people, start being rude to people. Things aren't going to be calm and smooth. So what I'm going to do is, it's not the schedule that I planned. It's not the way I planned. But we're going to step back and we're going to take what we have and we're going to deal with it. And so that's what we're doing right now. Okay? And Dwayne, why are you telling this? Because I don't want to be that guy on the video with a calm, half-broke horse that's trying to maintain my image more than I'm trying to show you a better way. We're going to take the scrubby horse. We're going to take the horse that's just all wide-eyed and his ears pinned. And we're going to show how to deal with that horse. And we're going to take life that's not as ideal as we want it to be. And we're going to show you that. We're going to show you how we deal with that. And so here we are. And about to, I've chilled way down. My coffee's about done. About half done with a cigar. I'm going to finish this cigar and then we're going to go about that. We're going to go back out and we're going to go on about our business. And we're just going to start getting stuff done. And what we get done, we get done. And what we don't get done, we'll do tomorrow. Or the next day. All right? So, I just want to encourage you, wherever you're at in life, take your foot off the accelerator a little bit. Now, sometimes momentum is your friend. Sometimes momentum will kill you. All right? And so maybe today you need to just say, tomorrow's another day. And tomorrow will probably be a better day. And today we'll do what we can. And, when I was a little kid, we didn't have television. But we had records. Now, by records, I mean I was a little kid. And Dad had some records that were dramatized readings of certain classics. And one of them that we had was Black Beauty. Remember the story of Black Beauty, the horse? Well, we had a dramatized reading of Black Beauty on a vinyl record, went on the record player. And we listened to that, listened to it. And there was a quote on that. And that quote, and I never forgot it. I mean, I was probably 5 years old. And to this day, I can still remember it. I can still remember it in the voice that read it on the record. Just do your best and leave the rest. And 'twill all come right someday or night. Just stop, have a cup of coffee and a cigar. Let the snow pass. And then go back out and keep going. Okay? There's very few things that you've got to do in a snowstorm. Now, you got to feed your critters. They got to eat. All right? But other than some stuff like that, just do your best and leave the rest. And you can pick it back up later. All right? So this is me wishing you a chill, non-stressful, relaxed day. And just saying, son, what you don't get done today, you can do tomorrow. And everybody may not be happy about that, but your life ain't about everybody else's happiness. All right? Be logical. Be reasonable. Be safe. And be calm. And we'll catch you guys next time.